Hi there, I and my buddy Joe English are sending our regards, and today we will do some ACT English section test questions together. So without further ado, let's share the PDF. All right. Today's passage is entitled Maria Montessori's Method. Maria Montessori's Method. Let's go for the first question. 31. Maria Montessori became Italy's first modern woman physician. Italy's, it here, he means the possessive S. So we should write an apostrophe first and then S, which is a possessive S. So D is the best answer for 31. So 31D is the best answer. Let's move to 32. Early in her career, she struggled to advance by the male-dominated profession. Usually we say to advance in the male-dominated profession because she was a female. So the right preposition here is in. So H is the best answer. Let's now move to 33. Okay. Yeah. She was assigned to the city's insane asylums to experiment with the patient's capacity to learn, then semicolon, then a colon, a task considered menial by medical professionals at the time. Okay. So she was assigned to the insane asylums to experiment with the patient's capacity to learn. And then he says a colon, right? A task considered menial by medical professionals at the time. We should replace that with a comma, right? Yes, a task considered menial by medical professionals at the time. So the best answer here is B, right? Yeah. Let's now move to 34. Okay. Although her education was in the science of the human body, her interaction with mentally disabled children drew her to study the processes of the mind. Okay, so at this point, the writer would like to provide specific detail or specific information about Montessori's education. Which alternative does that best? Which alternative does that best to give specific information about Montessori's education? So she says, although her education was in the science of the human body, so this is a very general thing. If we change that with anatomy and physiology, because she is a physician, she's a medical doctor or physician, so we should change the science of human body with a more specific thing, which is here G, anatomy and physiology, right? How about 35? Yeah. Okay, so this drew her to study the processes of the mind and specifically how children learn. Yeah, there's no change here. It sounds correct. So when she dealt with children and mentally disabled children, this drew her to know more about or study the processes of the mind and how children learn. So A, no change. Remember, no change is an accepted answer in as an answer to many questions, provided that it is actually the best choice uh, in that question, even if it's repeated 4 times, 5 times, 6 times in the whole English section. Is no problem, as long as it is the best answer. So here, the best answer for 35 is A. How about 36? Let's read it. Um, with the first children that were working class, numbering 60, Montessori established a children's house in Rome to foster an environment suited for child development. With the first children that were working class, okay, numbering 60. Yeah, there's something wrong with the phrasing here of this sentence. We should say, starting with 60 working class children, like the first group she worked with were 60 working class children. So the best answer here is H. Starting with 60 working class children, she decided to allot a house in Rome to for these children so she can treat them and work with them and so on. So H is the best answer for 36. Let's read 37. Montessori realized how ready children learn from their environment. How ready children learn. So ready, it should describe learning or the verb learn. So we should change it into an adverb. We know that the adverb describes the verb. So we should say how readily children learn from their environment. So D is the best answer for 37. Remember, if you want to describe a noun, we use an adjective. If we want to describe a verb, we use an adverb, right? Yeah. Usually the adverb ends in ly. Let's now move to 38. Yes, here, for the sake of logic and coherence, sentence one should be placed where it is now, blah, 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 and so on. Such questions that ask you about you know, arranging or rearranging certain parts of the paragraph or putting a specific sentence in the best logical place. Such questions require some time. It is better if you leave them at the end and then see if you have time to do that. However, if you feel that you have time when you are answering the other questions, you can do it in its order, right? In the you know, it's in its order and not leave it to the end. But be careful because these questions take some time to find the answer. If not, if you don't have time, you do the process of elimination, and by that you can you know, uh, decide that one or two of the options are not correct or cannot be correct. Then you are left with only two options. Then you have to make a choice between them. So for 38, if we read, we will find that the best place for that would be after sentence 4. After sentence 4. Okay, so sentence 1 should be placed after sentence 4. Let's go on to 39. Remember that if the question has a prompt, you need to read the prompt first, because the prompt might ask you what answer or which answer is least acceptable or the least acceptable. So in this kind of question, he is not asking you about the best choice, but he's asking you about the least acceptable choice or the least acceptable answer. So you need to read the prompt first. Let's read the prompt for 39. At this point, the writer would like to provide the reader with a more specific definition of the Montessori method. Assuming all are true, which of the following does that best? So what is the best answer? Basically, he is asking for the best answer for giving a definition and specific definition for the Montessori method, right? So that's it, 39. We should say, okay, let's just read it first, 39. At its core, the Montessori method is a theory of child development. Is it a theory of child development? Or if we say a philosophy of teaching or no change, or a means of fostering development and learning in children, or a style of teaching utilized in many school districts. What is the most specific definition for the Montessori? If we have a look at these, we will find that C is the best answer because it is more specific, as the question here or as the prompt wants us to find, more specific. So Montessori method is a means of fostering development and learning in children. It's a means, it's a method that fosters, that enhances development and learning in children, right? And yes, it is used in many schools or school districts, but the more specific definition is C and not D. Now moving on to 40, yeah. Comparison of a child's development to universal standards and norms is discouraged, right? So there's nothing wrong here. Comparison of a child's development to universal standards and norms is discouraged. So we don't want to compare the child to other children and see where he or she is. Is he or she better or worse than others or something like that? The philosophy is different. It's not based on competition or comparing where the child is to the other children, right? So the best answer is F, no change. There's no need to change anything in that question. So 40F is the best answer. 41 believed that, sorry, since it is believed that children naturally develop in different ways and acquire skills at different times. Yes. So 41, we need the answer without any punctuation. Remember that the answer without any punctuation could be the best answer in many cases, and one of these cases is here. There's no need for us to put a comma before and, like saying in different ways, comma, and acquire skills, comma, at different times. We cannot put a comma after skills, like acquire skills at different times. We should not put a comma after skills. We should not put a comma after ways here. So if we remove these commas, B would be the best answer. Different ways and acquire skills without any punctuation or commas, right? Let's now move to 42. Yeah. Yes, acknowledging this, a Montessori educator closely observed the child and provides him or her with the tools necessary for independent learning. Remember, if we use one verb in the present, the other verb should be in the present because they are joined with the coordinator and. So we cannot start the sentence with saying the Montessori educator closely observed and provides. We should use both verbs in the present. So we should say closely observes the child and provides him or her with the tools necessary for learning or whatever. So the best answer for 42 here is H, observes. So this question is just about verb tense, where what tense should I put the verb in, right? So we should put it in the present here. Let's now move to 43. Um, let's read it from the beginning. Okay, self-learning and self-correction are the fundamental processes of the Montessori method. Considering Maria Montessori showed will foster a lifelong love of learning. We should say which Maria Montessori showed will foster a lifelong learning. So which here is referring back to the self-learning and the self-correction. So at its core, the Montessori method wants the child to learn by himself or herself and to self-correct, right? So he's saying that these two qualities, which Maria Montessori showed, will foster a love of learning in and joy for that learning in all children. So the best answer is which. Okay, we just need a relative pronoun that refers back to the self-learning and the self-correction, right? The best answer for 43 is D. Let's now move to 44. If we read 44, today, children are taught with the Montessori method in schools, both public and private in the United States and many countries. We should say method in both public and private schools. So it has to do with the word order. Instead of saying in schools, both public and private, we should say in both public and private schools. In both public and private schools. So H is the best answer. Some of the questions are related to or has to do with the word order. So all we need to do then is to change the word order a little bit to reach the best answer. Okay, let's now move to 45. Suppose the writer were to eliminate paragraph 4. This omission would cause the essay as a whole to lose primarily. Yeah, so he's talking about this paragraph, which is talking about the Montessori method being taught in the United States and many other countries in both public and private schools. If we delete this paragraph, what would the essay primarily lose? Relevant details about the current development and utilization of Montessori education. So I think this is the best answer. A would be the best answer. He's giving us a current development and utilization of the Montessori education. Without the paragraph, we wouldn't know about the current development and utilization of the Montessori method. So A is the best answer for 45, right? Thank you for following, and I will see you in the next one.